Let me come first to you, Ajay Malhotra. Ambassador Malhotra, what do you see as really, why is this visit so important, coming at a time when we are not seeing an early end, as of now at least, to the Russia-Ukraine war?
Well, this visit, the timing of this visit is not linked with the Russia-Ukraine war at all. This is an annual summit planned well in advance. It traditionally takes place in December. So to me, there's no surprise at all. In the past, from the Russian side, they always come in December. I don't think there have been many exceptions to that. So I don't see any change in that approach. If you look at why now,
But Mr. Putin chose not since the war. This is his first visit to India. In that context, does that shadow the visit in any way?
I don't think so, because last year we visited, it's by rotation. The previous year in 2023, there was a miss because dates couldn't be worked out. It might have been mutually agreed to let that pass, and that's the way it was. But that is the only occasion when they've missed out, linked also with earlier with COVID. But otherwise, there's been a tradition of these visits, which I don't think you've had with any other country, whereas regularly since the year 2000, with as I said, the COVID and one other occasion, you've had these regular in and outgoing visits from both sides.
Let me get a Russian perspective for a moment. Alexei Zakharov, what is the importance Russia attaches to its relationship with India, given the fact that Russia has found itself isolated within Europe? Large parts of Europe today are questioning Russia for what it's done in Ukraine. We've even seen 3 ambassadors write an article in an Indian newspaper just 2 days ago. Then the Russian ambassador hits back. But the truth of the matter is, does Russia see India also as an all-weather friend, as India sees Moscow?
Yeah, I think that since the war in Ukraine, India's significance for Russian foreign policy only increased. And India has always been a long-standing friend, a strategic partner. But after being cut off from the European market and isolated from the West politically, I think that Russia started to reevaluate the partnership, and it started to appreciate more India as a largest market. So we could see a lot of Russian effort to boost economic ties, to explore Indian market. There have been many Russian businesses making inroads into the Indian market, and there have been attempts from the Russian side to facilitate trade and economic cooperation through introducing different payment mechanisms, through increasing investment into the Indian economy. So in that sense, I think that India's importance, India's alliance, has only grown further.
You know, it's interesting you're focusing on the trade aspect, because India has a ballooning trade deficit at the moment with Russia. Brahma Chelani, do you believe that is one of India's concerns, or is India looking at Russia primarily, particularly in this visit, and Moscow, as defense partners? That's where the real focus remains. Will it expand beyond that? Do you see actually a stronger relationship building, given also the ties that Russia has with China? Russia has also been signing defense deals with Pakistan in the recent time. How do you see the Russia-India relationship? Does it go beyond defense cooperation?
The relationship with Russia, Rajdeep, is very important, both for India's strategic interests and for better balance and greater maneuverability in Indian foreign policy. Without damaging the relationship with the US, which is equally important for India, India needs to uphold its special and privileged partnership with Russia. India needs both the US and Russia to counter China, to answer your question on China. So India needs both the US and Russia to counter China. The constant challenge for India is to carefully balance its foreign policy between Washington and Moscow so as to underpin India's independent approach to international affairs. The fact that US policy has pushed Russia closer to China makes it more imperative for India to maintain robust ties with Moscow. But look at the irony today. India's tried and tested partnership with Russia stands in stark contrast to America's erratic and punitive policy toward India. The US under Trump has slapped tariffs on India that exceed those on China. It has quoted Pakistan in ways that revive bitter Cold War memories, and it has singled India out for secondary sanctions while sparing other major Russian energy importers like the EU, Turkey, and Japan. In effect, Washington today is waging a quiet economic war on India. So, against this background, Rajdeep, Putin's visit to India carries outsized geopolitical significance.
You know, it's interesting because Rory Suchet, Vladimir Putin, you're a presenter with Russian RT TV. How much importance will this visit be given in the Russian media itself? RT India is being launched now by Russia in this country, obviously to increase Russia's view of the world. But how important does Moscow see India? Is it seen as a strategic partner? Is it seen as a potential ally? How does Russia see India from your vantage point?
Russia sees India from not just a strategic point of view, but from a deeply entrusted friendship. This is something that goes back not just years, but decades. It goes back to the Soviet Union and beyond. I mean, a perfect example, the 1972 India War that really kicked off in 1971, that resulted in the creation of Bangladesh. The Soviet Union was militarily supporting India during this. And we all know that India was victorious in that war. But let's take a step away from that for a moment. Think about the body language, think about the embraces, but think about the language. My dear friend. That is how Putin refers to Modi. As we saw Modi saying, our all-weather friend, our trusted ally. This is an intrinsic partnership today. But it's not just about Russia and India. It's about the new multipolar world order as well. We're seeing Russia and India that have forged their position on the global stage now, standing upright in front of the world. When you say that Russia is isolated, it is not isolated. You've got the Euro-Atlantic Alliance that represents just 10% of the world. Let me say that again. The Euro-Atlantic Alliance represents 10% of the world. So the Western political and media landscape, with a very clear agenda to demonize Putin and so on and so forth, they say these kinds of things. But when you watch the way that when Putin attends a BRICS summit or the ASEAN summit, friends with the SCO, you see the leaders coming to Moscow. In no way, shape, or form is Putin isolated on the global stage. The partnership between Russia and India has stood the test of time and will continue to do so. The only worry is when you have someone like Donald Trump in the White House that likes to dish out his so-called tariffs that really are just sanctions, he is expediting the coagulation of strategic partnerships in the world. That is why we're seeing these new friendships and partnerships in the BRICS, the SCO, the ASEAN, and so forth. He is expediting the development and the maturation of this polycentric world order. And the people who stand on stage in this polycentric world order is India, Russia, the global south, China. And these countries are now standing up taller than ever before. Why? Because their focus is on their sovereign interests, something that Trump doesn't like.
I like the use, Rory, of the word that you're using, polycentric world order. Ajay Malhotra, that in a sense is the significance also in a way of what's happening, because we have now, as described just now, an erratic relationship or a relationship with all the ups and downs with an erratic US president who has imposed 25% extra penalties on India for buying Russian oil. And India seemingly has capitulated and agreed. Many Indian companies are reducing their dependence on Russian oil. Is it possible to balance Russia and America Is it possible to really do that in this new world order?
You see, I don't believe India's role is to balance anyone against anything. We are there, a re-emerging power in our own right, and we should be treated accordingly by everyone. I think the Russians treat us with great respect, and so are the Americans till now. In fact, Trump, under his first administration, that's when we decided to call it a comprehensive global strategic partnership with America when he came here in February 2020. With the Russians, there's no such problem. But we find with the Americans, suddenly you have, as you pointed out, the problems with tariffs, the problems with sanctions, the problems with H-1B visas, the problems with Pakistan, and the strong tilt towards Pakistan, which is really a troublesome neighbor of ours, which it is, the Americans don't know it, and which they continue to regard as a major non-NATO ally. So these are all things of concern. So we are not here to kind of provide a balance between them. We want good relations with both USA and Russia. With Russia, there's reciprocity, there's a reciprocal response from the Russian president, and therefore we get on well with them. And this has been a tradition now for a long time. So it's not only a time-tested, but a well-trusted relationship.
But
with the Americans, they will have to earn our friendship once again. This can't go on much longer. They themselves are now talking with Putin, and it shows that at least they're trying to head in the right direction. And I do hope that the end result of all of this would be USA and Russia having a better understanding and relationship, and then it also helping us move ahead, because then the tariffs would become not so relevant, the sanctions would certainly become irrelevant, and then we have to see what the attitude is on Pakistan and what it's up to.